Everybody's mic is muted, so if the host who's running the calls can unmute everybody's mic, that would be awesome. I'm assuming that you guys can hear me. If you can hear me, put a thumb up.
Yes.
Good.
Feeling
Hey,
good,
everybody.
Solid, homie.
All right, cool. Yeah, let's go ahead and unmute all of the panelists. Go ahead and unmute yourself so we can get it on. Minnesota, you're still muted. And I think we're waiting on.
I'm on with Jason trying to get this background together. I'm sorry.
Okay, brother. It's all good, man. I see you're at the station. You're working today, huh?
Oh gosh.
He ain't working.
Yeah, working. You're pretending to work. All right, well, cool. I want to say what's happening and welcome to everybody. Welcome to this radio panel of some really great radio stars. Today, we are going to have a serious conversation. And also, as I said in my note to the panelists, let's make sure to smile because during COVID-19, a lot of things have changed. And radio, for the most part, has changed in a way that probably will never be the same. On March the 27th, I want to start this off by playing something that ended up being somewhat of a prediction. I posted this on my Instagram account, and then we'll do the introductions because this is kind of going to be what we're going to cover a little bit today. But check this out from my Instagram post on March the 27th. Hey, what's up? It's Hurricane Dave University, with some education for your mind for my radio people. If you're not in radio, kind of swipe up or go to the next story or whatever. But I do want to talk to my radio people about what's happening right now with this coronavirus and these big corporations and how they're thinking. They already think you work 4 hours on the air, maybe 5 if you do some production, but most people do that on the air, so they're cheating. You do the on-air shift for 4 hours, you've been getting paid for 8 hours. Now on top of it, you're not even in the building anymore, and you're voice tracking, and it probably takes you 2 hours to maybe 2.5 hours to voice track. Trust me when I say these companies, they're thinking, why am I paying you for 8 hours? Light bulb. Why am I paying you an 8-hour day of full-time salary when you can get it done in 2.5 to maybe 3 hours? I guarantee you, these companies, these big ones especially, they're thinking that. So why am I telling you this? I'm not being negative, Nancy. I'm telling you this because now is the perfect time for you to think about other ways you can generate income for your family. If I'm a betting person, which I don't bet, but I'm pretty sure when these companies have you come back after the coronavirus, they're going to be in so much debt and have lost so much revenue. They're going to say, we can bring you back, but it's only going to be part-time. Unless you're one of the big superstars, and even the big superstars are going to be told, we got to have a reduction in your salary. So my question that I asked on my story, what are you doing with your time right now? If you follow me on IG and on Facebook, you know that I created a radio station just for fun because it was so easy. HurricaneDavePlaylist.com. I'm going to put it on the App Store, Alexas and the Googles, just for fun, just to keep the mind creative. So again, what are you doing with this downtime? Create yourself some other opportunities. Anyway, just some food for thought. And record label executives, you're not exempt. You already know what time it is too. So I'm gonna get back to enjoying this incredible walk and enjoying this beautiful sunshine. And that's not negative information I gave you. That's real information, real. Just think about it, yo. As they tell me all the time, it's only business. Have a great day. God bless you. And I love you, for real. All right, so I posted that on the 27th of March. And a lot of that stuff has actually come into fruition. I mean, these are very, very difficult times for radio stations. A lot of people have lost 40, sometimes 50% of their revenue. So the radio game has certainly changed. And I got a panel of experts that's going to talk about the business of radio and also the future, what we can look like, what it's going to look like in the future. So let me introduce these wonderful all-stars that we have. I'm going to start off with the young lady who has just won the 2020 Trailblazer of the Year Award from the Music and Business Entertainment Conference, Terri Thomas. How you doing, TT?
I'm doing great. It's good to see everybody here. Love to see everybody here.
Tell us a little bit about yourself. Obviously, I know what you're doing right now, operations manager, program director, The Box and Magic, and KROI, as well as Praise Houston. So you're doing a lot of different things. You're certainly a superstar inside of Radio One. Can you tell us a little bit about your journey and about you?
Sure, just keep it simple. I'm a bit of a radio prodigy. I started when I was 14 years old. I grew up just outside of Boston, and there was a community radio station in our hometown, and I started there. So I actually have an FCC license. I know that's not required anymore, but I do have one. And just really, loved music. It was the love of music, and really loved radio. So radio was my main source of music when I was growing up. So I really fell in love with the genre, and that radio and music was the one thing you could always count on. It just didn't matter what else was going on in your life. So I'm a graduate of Emerson College. I did 4 years there. I got to send some love out to Fran Berger, who is my fairy godmother in college. And after that, one of our alumni, Philip David March, I like to say he's a triple OG in the business. He gave me my first commercial radio job in Columbus, Georgia. So I'm a bit of the mindset of you got to go to grow and go where the opportunities are. And so I left a big city like Boston and then worked my way up from market to market to market to market, and eventually landed here in Houston, Texas, and have my 4 brands here and an awesome team, and just really grateful to still be doing the thing that I love, even though the business is changing, and we'll talk about that in depth today. I still love what I do, and I still think there's a lot of value in what we do. I think we just need to evolve with the business and have our eyes on the future and where things are headed.
Awesome. And up next, we got Miss Monique, who is currently holding down the afternoon drive position in Columbia, South Carolina at 100.1 The Beat and Augusta's Power 107.7. She's also the program director for 100.1 The Beat and Throwback 105.5 in Columbia. What's happening, young lady? Tell us a little bit about you and your journey and how you got to where you are right now.
Hey, hi everyone. I'm so happy to be here. I started off in Michigan, went to a broadcasting school in Detroit, been some everywhere from Detroit to Mississippi to Augusta, Georgia, Albany, Georgia, now Columbia, South Carolina. It's been a journey, and I'm so happy I'm still in the game.
Awesome, awesome. Up next is Arielle Swain. Did I say that right?
Yeah, you said it right.
All right, cool. Because when I was practicing earlier, I was like, is that McSwain or McSwain? Okay, McSwain PD, afternoon drive at 107.3, The Beat, hip hop and R&B, and also the PD at 100.3 Hallelujah FM. Now that's an interesting combination, hip hop and spiritual. I do believe in both of those things. So tell us about your journey and how you got to where you are today.
I'm a preacher's kid, so it definitely made sense for me to program a Hallelujah station. Just, give my dad something to listen to. But I actually started off in radio almost 10 years ago in January as an intern. And for almost a year, I worked for free as an intern, just doing whatever, up to 12-hour work days, just trying to get noticed, trying to get my foot in the door. And it definitely worked out. So I ended up on air. I've done every drive time position from mornings to overnights. And about 3 years ago, I was given the opportunity to become a programmer, and I jumped on it.
That's
awesome.
Very
short and sweet.
That's great. I mean, I tell you, in today's radio, it's hard to find, nothing against these newcomers who may have something to say on the chat or whatever, but it's just hard to find people that don't want to be instant stars. Things have changed because they don't necessarily need radio like they used to. And some of them are already stars on social media. So they look at radio a little bit different. So, but welcome to the panel today. Up next, Kenny Smoov, who is the Vice President of Urban Formats for Cumulus Media, Westwood One, and Program Director, as well as Morning Man for legendary call letters WQQK in Nashville, Tennessee. Definitely one of the good guys in the business. Kenny, tell us about your journey.
Hey, good afternoon, everybody. Started at KIIZ in Killeen, Texas, home of Fort Hood. Former Army Staff Sergeant, Desert Storm vet. Been pretty much, if you saw it on TV, if they were throwing rocks at each other, we were trying to make them stop. And got tired of doing that run around. So, I actually just kind of, a person that we all know in this business, Greg Street, I saw him at an event in Texas one day doing this thing, and I was like, I think I'm going to do that. And somebody was supposed to show up at a remote one day and didn't, and I've been on the radio every day since then. That's pretty much how it happened. And
that's why people don't like to take vacations to this day, right?
Exactly why people don't like to. No, but yeah, I mean, we were. It's been a journey, man. Coming up through the through the South, many different states and cities, and it's just a blessing to still be able to do what we do and to try to have some fun at it, man. Because that's why we really started doing this job, because we didn't want a regular job. So this is what it's about, and it's an honor to be on this panel with you guys.
Awesome. Welcome, Kenny. Up next, we got Mr. Derek Harper, who is the operations manager for Radio 1 ATL, as well as the program director for WAMJ and WPZE. Derek and I work closely, next door to each other for about 10 years. Great teammate to have on the team. His station, Praise, has won more stellar awards than any other radio station. And winning a stellar is like getting the Grammy. So kudos to you and your team and everybody over there at Radio 1 Atlanta. Derek, tell us about your journey.
Thanks a lot, Dave. Well, sort of like Terry, in high school, the high school that I went to was a magnet school, and the specialty was radio and TV broadcasting. So one of the byproducts of it is I graduated from high school with an FCC license, with a third-class FCC license. I went to the Air Force Academy for a year because originally I wanted to be a pilot, but found myself being the go-to person for music there. I felt that maybe that was a sign. And so I transferred to Florida A&M my following year. And because of the transfer, when you go to one of the service academies, they cover everything. Obviously, I transferred to a civilian school. And so even though I was there on a scholarship, had to pay some bills. And I said, well, I had this FCC license. Let me go to the campus radio station and go ahead and put it to work. And the rest is kind of history. I was working in Tallahassee. A few of us here on this panel have made it through Tallahassee. So I was working at 3 different stations at the same time using 3 different names. Then I made it here to Atlanta and produced a morning show and backed up kind of everybody over at V103, including Greg Street. And then I went to Macon and was operations manager and did a morning show there for 4 years. And then Radio 1 brought me back here to Atlanta and as an APD, and then became a PD for, before it was Magic, it was Grown Folks Radio, but then we created Magic, and I picked up PD duties for Praise 102.5 here in Atlanta, and then later on picked up duties as inspiration format director for Radio 1, and now operations manager for Radio 1 Atlanta. And it's an honor to be on this panel with so many people that I've had the pleasure of working with. And even, some of us have been in this game a long time. Some of the people on this panel I followed when I was trying to get into the game. So just an honor to be here. So
awesome. Now, so did I hear you correctly? You said you had 3 different names on the air at the same time on 3 different stations?
Yes.
That's got to be some kind of record right there. That was before syndication and satellite. Because that's hard. That's a hard one, Derek. All right, up next is Mark McCray. In the game, just about 30 years. Mark is the former vice president of programming and operations for Radio 1, based out of Dallas, and had some legendary radio stations there in Dallas. And now he's got his own venture in podcasting. He's an owner, which is something that we all strive to be. Mark McCray, tell us about your journey.
So I'm a longtime radio guy. I've been doing radio since I was 16. I'm from the Chi. One summer my mom said, you're too old to go to camp and you're too young to sit around here and do nothing. So we got to get you doing something. So Columbia College in Chicago was giving high school kids college credit. And I took the intro to radio class just to appease my mother. And I fell in love with it. Like from day one, went to Southern Illinois University at the age of 16 and started my radio career. Since then, Southern Illinois and Carbondale, I was on the air, and Chicago, doing soft rock of all formats. And then I was in Dallas doing news talk, and then I ended up working for, K104, KRNB. I was one of the first jocks on KRNB. Later got my first programming job in Austin, Texas, and later went on to do mornings there, and then moved to West Palm Beach, where I did about 10 years as a morning guy and ran 2 stations there for CBS. And then I was in Dallas for a number of years running 2 stations, and then overseeing the operations for Reach Media. And right now, about a year ago, I started some podcast studios because I thought there's an opening to, you know, maybe have something that could be beneficial, you know, another source of income, got to have a few sources of income. And then I also started our radio network here with a former radio pro, Clear Media Network, which just launched, and we already got our first 2 affiliates. So busy guy, I'm doing a lot, but just a blessing to be in the business still and a blessing to be on this panel. Much respect to everybody on here.
Awesome. Up next, Minnesota Fats, who is the Senior Vice President of Programming for iHeartMedia in Augusta, oversees the operations there of 7 radio stations. And one of the coolest things that I saw on your bio is that you've had the same co-host, I think it said for like 18 years or something like that.
Yeah, 19 years.
19, how do you work with somebody for 19? Well, first of all, how do you keep one job for 19 years? Let alone have somebody you work with for 19 years. Tell us about your journey, Fats.
Hey man, you know, it's been a long journey. You know, I'm the youngest guy on this panel, so I'm really excited about it.
Wait a minute.
Hold on a second. I think me and you might be in the same demo. I think me and you might be in the same demo.
Exactly. But it's been a great journey, you know, starting out with the Godfather Soul, James Brown with our stations, WRDW, had an opportunity. My parents in New York, my dad worked for LaGuardia, my mom worked for the Twin Towers, and they were huge fans of James Brown, and a grandmother that lived in Augusta. So the opportunity came for me to visit a friend that was working at WRDW Radio, 1480 AM, which was owned by the Godfather Soul, James Brown. And during that time, the PD asked me, you know, he said, you got a pretty decent voice, guy. I said, why don't you give it a shot? You know, I had no earthly idea. I just wanted to meet James Brown, who was like my musical idol, and tell my mom and dad, like, hey, you know, I met James Brown. So the opportunity came, and the PD put me on the air, and, you know, he said I wasn't good enough. Just so happened Mr. Brown was listening to the radio station that particular day. And he said, who's that little fat guy y'all call Fats down there? So I went up to his office, and he said, what happened? I said, well, your PD said I wasn't good enough. He said, I want you to go down and get with the PD, and we're going to work with you because I see potential in you. So the opportunity came, and I got my 3rd class license, just like Terri got those, just got them laminated last week. So, you know, they're wrinkled, right? And of course, I started working nights at RDW. From there, I went to WTHB to do mornings, worked there later on to launch in 1987 a station called WFXA with the late Carl Connor, working with him under Davis Broadcasting, the Woodfin Group, a little Radio One, and then, of course, I worked under James Alexander, some of the greatest PDs that I could, you know, can think of. And I learned a little bit from that one, and put a little mixture of Fats in there. And of course, later on with Doc Winter and working for Ken Johnson with Cumulus, Clear Channel, and now iHeart. So there's been a climb there. And one of my goals is, like, I love to see talent advance. You know, when I see Monique on this panel, who worked for me and I groomed, and to see her advance, and Tutu is now in Houston. So it's just some of the talents over the years. That's where the excitement comes to me, that I see other people growing and getting them to the next level. So that's been a part of my journey, and being with iHeart now, and being in the business for over 35 years plus, and to sort of work with various formats, from country to urban to hip hop, R&B to rock. So it's been some challenges, and being able to grow in opportunities that our iHeart has given me to display here in Augusta has been fabulous. It's been great.
That's awesome. That's awesome, brother. Welcome to the panel. Last, we have my man, DJ Fresh.
What's happening? What's happening, sir? What's good? How y'all doing? How y'all doing, everybody? Can y'all hear me?
Everybody's good. You're hosting right now middays, right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Middays on Yo 100.5, as well as afternoons on 97.9. Is that correct?
Yes, sir. Double duties.
Double duties. Wow. So tell us, obviously I know you, I see you a lot of times at the different panels, so it's good to see you even virtually. Tell us about your journey and how you got to where you are right now.
Well, kind of like Kenny Smoov, man. I'm a military guy, ex-military, Desert Storm veteran, and before, graduate of Eastern Michigan University. But before, my passion for radio has always been there. So as soon as I got an opportunity to indulge and jump back in, as soon as I had a chance to, I did. So I got that big break in like 97, 98. And from that point on, it's been on. So I'm still a student of the game, and I'm still eager and hungry to learn, and I'm having a lot of fun doing it at this time. So
Awesome.
That's pretty much it in a nutshell.
All right, well, welcome to the panel, everybody. As I said, this is going to be an exciting time. I want you guys to keep it 100, drop some real gems that I know that a lot of you have. And the first question, obviously, as I kind of did in my opening statement, is about COVID-19 and how it has changed your programming philosophy. So I'm actually going to do something fun here. I'm going to change this and spin the wheel to see who's going to be able to answer this question first, and then we'll open it up after that. So the first person will be this person, who it is. Terri Thomas, you are up next. Tell us about how COVID-19 has changed your programming philosophy.
Kind of going to go against the grain, Kane.
Okay.
Keep it 100.
Yes.
I would tell you, COVID-19 has put an exclamation point on my programming philosophy. So like all of us, I'm a student of the game, like everybody on the panel. And so for me, I'm reading the tea leaves about where the future of our business is headed and what the competition really is. So all of us are in radio, and of course the first level of that is other radio stations. But truthfully, all of us have one of these handy dandy devices. So anything that can compete for the attention of our potential listeners is competition. So what COVID did for me was to really elevate what I already knew was the direction that we needed to be in. And that's to understand that, one, radio is a content delivery platform, period. Okay? That's what it is. We deliver whatever the content is. For most of us, it's very music heavy, but it's radio. So it could be a lot of different things. Secondly, our companies, and there's a variety of companies represented here, but our companies have gotten into other content delivery platforms. A lot of us, it's whether it's, things with the app or websites or streaming or social media, they are all content delivery platforms. So for me, the exclamation point was to propel my team into the content creation space. And so immediately for me, I went into the mode with my team of understanding that when people went home for COVID, they were going to be using our radio less, just because they weren't going to be in the car and everybody was going to be sitting at home. And I don't know how many 18 to 34-year-olds actually have a radio in their house. That's a whole different conversation, I'm sure. So my mode for my team was, we will not get lost during this time, and we have got to create interesting content in all of our content delivery platforms. So online and our social platforms, of course, website, stream, whatever. So that's what the exclamation point was for me. I already knew where radio was headed. And in order for us to be able to be the phoenix and rise from the ashes, we need to use the amazing talent that we have and really bring the best out of them with original content. And so we moved immediately into that space. And I started programming our online content like I was programming the terrestrial signal, and working with the team to cultivate ideas that they were passionate about. We have amazing talent. And I think oftentimes we limit our talent to 4 20-second breaks an hour, and we don't sit down and have conversations with them about, what are their other interests and things of that nature. But, if our talent is a representation of the demo, our demo is interested in more than just one thing. So I think there, for me, a huge opportunity to tap in with the talent and to build some online platforms that really speak to their interests, therefore connect with the audience interests. And while everybody was sitting at home, we didn't disappear. So my brands, my talent were right here where the people are. And so as people, and Houston is moving later than the rest of the country with opening back up, but as people get back in the car and open back up, then they won't forget about us, because we will have maintained contact with them throughout this entire time. And then we've really pushed through into a space where we needed to claim more ownership of anyway from a creative standpoint.
Okay. Anybody else want to jump in there? It had to have changed some things. Kenny, from a perspective of looking at the national platform of things, how have you made the adjustment?
Basically, keeping everybody in the mind and the mindset of being involved in the community. And I know that's different because we can't do what we do normally, out touching people and engaging folks because of the COVID-19 restrictions. But you can take that space on social media. You can take that space in the digital space, and you need to be in front of the audience. A lot of things have happened, even within Nashville, in that space where people are doing a lot of things virtually. There's an African Street Festival happening right now as we speak that's going on virtually in Nashville. You know, you have to change your mind from, okay, we're going to go out here and we're going to have the church chicken. No, you're not doing that this year. You're going to go online and you're going to engage people in that manner. You have to keep the information in front of them. Popular or not, COVID-19 information is important. Keep that out in front of everybody. The information is important. And so from a national standpoint, making sure that everybody is on key and that we're all singing from that sheet music, because losing that space is going to be costly if we do.
All right, so this is a continuation for someone else who hasn't answered yet. How do you keep that vibe, that energy? You know, there's something about sitting in the same room with your staff and you're having a staff meeting and you're doing a rah-rah session. How do you do that virtually? I mean, obviously you can have a Zoom meeting, but it's just not the same to me, unless somebody has another way. Just curious.
It was a big adjustment for me, of course, you know, doing every day. Cher and I working together. She's across town at her house. I'm across town at my house. And it was a big adjustment, man, because, you know, we used to coming into the station every day and doing show prep and preparing for the show. So it was, we had to readjust again. It was like, how are we going to get together and make things happen promotionally? Same thing from the sales perspective and dealing with clients, doing Microsoft Teams every day, and just to hold out the new norm of radio. So it was a big adjustment.
Fresh, you were about to say something. I agree with you, Minnesota.
I was just saying, I pretty much agree. I mean, it's during this COVID time, a lot of things have changed. We have the, you know, I mean, me personally, I like to talk to my folks anytime. I'll FaceTime them, and we laugh about it all the time. We'll FaceTime each other already to stay in contact. But I'm still at the station physically, so I get a chance to see guys throughout the week anyway. So we get a chance to stay in contact for the most part.
And I'd like to say that I was only meeting with my staff maybe once a week before COVID. But they look forward to my team app meetings. They get excited on Friday. We'll grab a drink, maybe at like 6 o'clock, and everybody is sitting there. It's like, hey, and my boss loves it that I meet with them so often during the week. So it's cool.
Yeah. That's awesome. Arielle, I can tell you got something you want to add.
I don't. I guess because my situation is so different from everybody else's. I don't have a team. It's kind of me.
Okay. Interesting.
And it hasn't shut down so much in the area that I'm in. I could still commute back and forth for work, but what did change was, and I have to agree with Terri, it did shift the content. Because it wasn't so much on air anymore. It was now, how do we get into their homes? Because it was easy to get into their cars. It was already set in stone. But as a newer programmer, the car space was already there. Now I'm figuring out how to get into your home. And it wasn't super hard because, again, I'm a millennial. So no, I don't have a terrestrial radio in my house, but I do know how to speak that language to say, hey, we're on your phone. We're on your smart TV. The smart speakers. So it was all creating imaging to push more for those elements versus actually tuning in on your terrestrial radio. And then as well as creating that social media presence with the content that says, hey, by the way, we're still here and we still have information. And by the way, not just information, but we also have music. So.
Okay, awesome. I'm going to come back to you in a little bit because it's going to be an interesting perspective to look at someone who's been in the game for 30 years versus someone who's a millennial who hasn't been in the game, and their projection on down the road, 10 years from now, what radio will look like and what the different perspectives of that is. So anybody else want to answer this question and talk about it, how it's changed? Derek?
Yeah, well, Dave, you know, kind of piggybacking on what Arielle said, and Terry mentioned this too, just obviously people's normal routine has changed substantially, and just them being out and about. And we know that radio is based off of, you know, exposure in cars. But an interesting thing, it kind of goes back, there's something that I was told a long time ago that, you know, nobody ever pays attention to the electric company until the power goes out. So, and for radio, we focus so much on being out and about with people and so on and so forth. With this whole COVID situation, two things happen. Number one is that the battle that we've been having with Spotify and a lot of the streaming services, it kind of put it in a different light. You know, people stream music when they want to be alone with their music. You know, people listen to the radio to be part of a community. And so, you know, we moved into kind of emphasizing that. And part of that was infiltration of the home itself. We needed to go ahead and plant a flag back in people's homes. And the way to do that was through smart speakers. And so our focus was heavily promoting smart speaker usage. And our last book, you know, just breaking down books, like one of my stations, my inspiration station, 60% of its listenership was in-home listening, you know. And so I think that, you know, the advantage or what radio can take away from this is how you get back into people's homes and become a utility once again, as opposed to just, you know, something that people do whenever they have free time or whenever they're out in their car. Good stuff. Mark?
You know, I live in Dallas, and these folks decided about a month after COVID started that it was done. So they kick it. I mean, let me tell you, around the streets of Dallas, these folks give a damn about a COVID.
Not hardly.
Yeah.
Welcome to Texas.
Yeah, man, and it's mad unsettling for me because I'm that dude that's like wearing his mask, and I'm that guy. But you know, to everybody's point, like, you know, listen, this is the time for radio stations to be what radio stations are supposed to be, and that's local. Like, if you have local people on the air, make sure that they are talking to the community. Make sure that they are giving updates about what's going on in your market. What's going on in Dallas is not what's going on in St. Louis. It's not even what's going on in Austin, or no matter what market you're in. Make sure that you're super serving the audience that you're in and talk about what's going on with your market to your listeners, so that they have a reason to come and see what's going on with you guys every day. Because as we all know, this is an occasion game, and people got to come back, and they got to come back regularly. So what are you giving them so that they can make sure that they get back on the radio, or they have a reason to come back and listen to you from day to day? What are you giving them, and what are you giving them locally, so that they can kind of like, I need to check in with the radio station. I need to see what's going on here, because they always do it right.
Right. Love it. I'm hearing some great programming tips. So if you guys are out there and your programmers, some jewels are being dropped, and I hope that you're collecting them in a basket. So this is good stuff.
You know something, what I tell my guys too, man, is you're not going to out shade room. You can't talk about Cardi and all this other stuff the way that they do. That's their space. But they can't talk about Augusta, and they can't talk about Dallas and Nashville and Houston the way that we can. And if you do that, you will beat Shade Room in that space for just that small little piece that you need. I don't need 1 million views on my video. I just need 30,000. I need 10,000. So if you can just grab that piece, you win. So stop trying to, you're not going to beat them on a Cardi B story. It's impossible. But you can relate into your markets and into what you do the way that you do in your city. And that's what makes you unique. And if you can't do that, then Shade Room is going to run your ass over. That's going to happen.
Let's talk about a very important topic, because I do want to make sure that I cover it. The 2020 election. We are just a few weeks away from one of the most important elections in our lifetime. Now, it seems like every time there's an election, they say it's the most important election in our lifetime. But I really believe that this time. How are you guys covering it? And this is just kind of an open discussion. How are you guys covering it? How much coverage are you giving it? What are you doing that's unique about your coverage about this year's election?
Okay, and I'll jump in and just say this. I can't call the guy's name. Kenny, somebody probably remembers, but just this week, the young guy that's out here on Instagram and did the really good song that everybody's giving him credits, like Schoolhouse Rock 2020 on the political song, right?
Oh man.
Yeah. So super dope. But that really lends back to what I think the real problem is. The real problem is that people only focus on the presidential election, and we've sort of lost touch with that Schoolhouse Rock mentality of why everything else matters and how that affects me locally. So, you know, my conversation with my team is, you know, to super serve the local communities, to help break down and help them understand on why all of these roles matter and why you need to have an opinion and to get out here and vote on these other pieces that are going to be up for election this year. Like the president is one piece of it, but it's not the entire piece. And I think there's a lot of misunderstanding on how the city council is going to affect me personally, or who the controller is, or, you know, just whatever the bill might be that might be coming up for question, who is going to be my representation on the legislature, not only from a state level, but also the national level. And so our focus has been to micro that and to get the attention. We know the ridiculousness with the whole president thing, right? I won't go into politics here. I think we're all similar in our viewpoint, but that tends to get the eye off the real ball, and it's the real smoke screen. So to my estimation, we can really serve the community by educating them on why these other things matter and how it's going to affect me on a local level here in Houston.
Yeah, I think the song that you're thinking of is by an artist called Yellow Pain. And the song is called My Vote Don't Count. Yeah. And it's funny, it's interesting. I actually consult KJLH in Los Angeles, which is owned by a legendary artist that we all know, Mr. Stevie Wonder. He actually sent me that record. I don't know where he heard it, but he sent me that record 3 weeks ago and said, put this in rotation. And when I listened to it, I was like, wow, this is different. Okay, I heard that this may happen from time to time. So I Googled the artist, and then I looked at the lyrics while he was performing, and then the light bulb came on. And maybe I didn't get it at first, in all honesty. Maybe Stevie's vision is different because he's got a different type of sight. But after I saw that, I was like, oh my God, this is amazing. And now I see it all over social media. So sometimes things, you know, they come in if you wish them. But yeah, the artist is Yellow Pain, My Vote Don't Count. So that's a good song that I think everybody probably might want to have in their rotation, or at least check it out. Other ways it's being covered. Anybody else want to jump in? The politics side?
Here in Atlanta, you know, I'll go from the start. Terry Avery from Cox gave me a call,
this is awesome,
and floated an idea about all the Black radio stations in the city kind of uniting to mobilize people, educate them, and register people to vote. And that movement is called Black Radio United for the Vote. And it's kind of unprecedented, where all the major radio companies came together specifically for that purpose. So hats off to Terry Avery, and Reggie Rouse over at Intercom is a part of it. Cumulus is involved here in Atlanta. Core Media, Steve Hegwood and his group, and of course Radio One. And we've done 3 events so far, and they consist of just cross promotion from all the radio stations. And it's a really big thing. And our whole thing was to go ahead and create a movement, you know, really create a movement, especially here in Georgia, where we've got a prime opportunity really to go ahead and kind of make a big impact in this state and take it to where it hasn't been before. If you remember the last election for governor, where Stacey Abrams lost by less than 50,000 votes. So, you know, our goal was to register 50,000 Black people that weren't registered to vote. So we figured we could go ahead and make that difference. And you know, and there are certain causes that are larger than radio. Usually companies, they compete against each other and so on and so forth. But, you know, we don't own these stations, but we do live in these communities. And so at the end of the day, there's certain causes where you go beyond the separation and you have to move as a unit. So that's how we've done it here in Atlanta.
I got to tell you, Derek,
Awesome.
I posted this a couple of weeks ago, but I was in the car and I didn't know what was going on because, I'm in Atlanta still. And I was listening to V103 actually. And when I heard it come on and I heard all those call letters, it literally gave me goosebumps almost to the point to where I almost teared up. I ain't trying to be sentimental or nothing like that, but I never heard of such powerhouse radio stations mentioning each other on each other's stations. That's just unheard of. So kudos and props to all you guys. I didn't know that was something that germinated from Terry Avery, but yeah. Man, just kudos. It would be amazing if everybody could do that. And some things are bigger than radio. So kudos to you guys on that. Let's talk about Black Lives Matter, and then I'm going to go to the Q&A, and I'm going to, answer some of these questions or pose some of these questions, because some of these questions I want to make sure that they get answered. What about Black Lives Matter? They came from, boom, right there. Who wants to handle it?
I just want to jump in and just say this. I'm just going to put this out there. To me, it just seems like, maybe it's just me, but
keep it real. Keep it real.
I'm keeping it 100. It seems like there's still some confusion with that with a lot of people in the community. A lot of folks aren't getting it. A lot of folks don't understand it fully, and so there's a lot of confusion on what that entails and what is.
Why don't you get into it a little bit more into the weeds? Because there's two different ways to look at it. There's a Black Lives movement, and then there's the Black Lives movement, which is the three females. Which I've read different things about that, and so it sounds like you kind of want to touch on it, but it might be too hot. Do you want to touch it or not?
Well, just in trying to understand it across the board for everybody. You know what I mean? I think that's one of the biggest issues. Folks, everybody's not on the same page as far as when you mention it. This person thinks that. This person thinks that. Everybody's not on the same page. And it was just not me. Yeah.
I got you. Anybody else?
I'm fearing that that it's going to get commercialized. We might see a Black Lives Matter hamburger or some shit in a few minutes.
I think it's already commercialized.
I hope not.
It's crazy. You know what I'm saying? Like, dude, it's like, I get it. When people are doing their research projects and they're trying to make sure that it's okay to talk about it. Obviously, the NFL did it. They found out that it's okay, so now, and the NBA found out because, back 2 years ago, they weren't touching nothing. Now it's all on the hardwood. They on the shirts, the jackets, everything. So obviously they know that the millennials are really driving this, and they are saying, hey, we care about community events. We care about what's happening, socially. And so the marketers are trying to get in front of what they care about. And so you're seeing so much more of it. But my fear is that they're driving this bus to a place where we really don't want to go. And I think that you're affecting, and you're in effect doing exactly what you say you don't want to do. You're using my Black life to take it away and do something else with it. I don't want you to do that.
Right.
So we don't command and control this conversation as much as we should. And that's kind of what my issue what it is. But me being a real Jersey boy, I'm gonna pimp the situation for me anyway. I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna still get what I want out of it. And what I want out of it is you stop shooting people that look like me. So I'm gonna stay focused on that. And at some point, though, we have to have a roundtable discussion about what needs to happen with this, because there are too many lanes of embarkation here, and we have to figure this out and make it go one direction.
Okay, Arielle, I can tell you're ready. What you got?
Yes, because I want to touch on what Kenny said. And he said he feels like it's going to be commercialized. It's already done. Like, it has already been signed, sealed, delivered, and sold to the highest bidder. There were moments where when everything first happened, where I felt like my Black pain was for sale. And I remember saying that to a higher up after the third email of, hey, is your station Black enough today? You didn't care if my station was Black enough last year. Don't come in here and ask me, is my station Black enough today? Now that'll be enough. So I think also there is this intersection of what is Black Lives Matter. And the problem is that it's not being communicated because so many of our allies, quote unquote, allies are more performative allies because they want to use the hashtag. It's the thing that gets the most likes. It's the things that put them in front of the most people without realizing that real people are connected to the lives that we're talking about that matter. Simple as that. And so it's gonna come down to really educating. And that's not just on Black Lives Matter, that's also politically, because like Terry was saying, let's get back to the schoolhouse rock. You don't know why you're doing this because nobody ever said it to you. And where does this responsibility go? One of my favorite social media influencers to follow, and she's also a celebrity of sorts, is Amanda Seales. And while I love her, I didn't agree with her when she said, I'm not going to give you information, that's up to you. No, I think that there is I grew up in Mobile, Alabama, okay? And my cousin is the very last recorded American lynching in America. That happened in the 80s, okay?
Wow.
That happened in the 80s. So that goes to show you right there that I don't get to be far removed from it. So it's kind of always been a thing. But then at the same time, I'm looking at people who are around the same age as me who couldn't tell you who Crispus Attucks was. What are we doing? So when do we, as radio, because we are so community oriented, when do we start saying, okay, so here's the education right here, or at least creating platforms to where the education gets out there, even if we don't do it ourselves? Just because I know doesn't mean that you know. And just because I have the platform doesn't mean that's necessarily how it's going to be used. But then I can also, again, create a seat at the table for somebody else to come in and use that space in order to teach and advocate.
You dropping some nuggets.
Okay, look, this is my area right here. I love a good Black discussion.
I love it. Okay, cool.
Hey,
right,
hey,
go ahead.
Hey, well, I grew up. I'm sorry. I grew up in Milwaukee, which is probably about 40 miles away from Kenosha. So, and now I'm here in Atlanta, which is probably the blackest city in America. And as part of that, what I've noticed over this year is, what, no one can name any time prior to this that you've heard just the general media use the term Black as often as you have this year, and, even prior to this, for Black History Month or whatever, my question was always, I work for Radio One, we're Black owned. I'm like, well, why do we not parade that? I mean, that's an asset. That's us. That's even before all the protests started or whatnot, people were avoiding the term Black. I mean, even businesses, they didn't want to know, they didn't want to be regarded as a Black owned business until all of this broke out. And now, you see these signs and so on and so forth. And I think it's a reckoning, really, where, if you rode with us before, you should be riding with us now. Now, if you're riding with us after May, then I question your intentions. I question, whether you're just trying to commercialize this and reduce it to a hashtag. Right. And I think that radio, we can't get caught up in, for lack of a better term, the BS. And we have to be consistent and educate our public about just the movement and what the roots of it are in. Is not, it's beyond equality, it's equity now. And, I think that gets lost a lot of times by the commercialization now. And hopefully that our core audience doesn't get lost in that fact also. So.
Okay. Okay, Mark.
Well, my thing is that I'm actually thankful for the original Black Lives Matter movement because it got some conversation talking that, people can't get away from it. Like, this has been a conversation that people get mad uncomfortable with. Whether you're a Black American or whether you're a mainstream America, right? So, but my thing is, like, when you start to monetize it, and now it's gotten to the point where, to other people's point on the panel, is that it's so commercialized right now, it's kind of lost its meaning. We've said it so much that now it's kind of lost the zest that it has. And I think that that's part of it. And then we also got people concentrating on the wrong stuff. Like, to be honest with you, the Aunt Jemima stuff, it can wait until after the cops start beating our ass. Like, let's get that done first. Then we can work on syrup bottles and other stuff. I mean, that's cool and all, but I think we need to keep our eye on the ball. And that is, we need some change here, and we need to make sure we can keep spreading the spotlight on it. And I don't think anybody should be surprised that there's a resistance against the Black Lives Matter movement, the reform for police officers. We shouldn't be surprised about this. This is not going to be easy. This is not going to go away. This is not going to go away after November, even after we, God willing, things change. But, you know, it is what it is. So we have a duty as broadcasters to keep pushing that message to our community on the things that we want changed, the things that are wrong in this world, and speak out on those things.
Yeah, somebody on the panel said 400 years and it still has not stopped. So that's a fact. Let's change it up. Let's lighten it up a little bit. I want to answer a question from Phil, or at least I'd like to ask it to the panelists. Phil wants to know, are you open to mentoring? If so, how can you be approached, or how would you like to be approached about mentorship opportunities? I'm going to start with Minnesota because we need to get you back in the conversation, my brother.
Well, you know, of course, we have a mentorship program through iHeart, and of course, with the COVID going on now, so we kind of like, you know, but an opportunity for up and coming talent, which has been one of my strengths as a programmer, is developing talent. I can remember going through a McDonald's drive-through and hearing a voice and hiring that person, and gave them an opportunity to get into radio, and became one of the biggest midday personalities in the Southeast. So, you know, I think it's very important when people really want and have that passion and drive for any type job opportunities, whether it's radio or anything, and you're willing to open up and teach that person and help them grow. I think it's so important. You know, being in the business for over 40 years, I still have that burning desire. I mean, you know, and passion for the business. And this is something that I really wanted to do. When I hired people like Miss Monique and Tutu, and I know that they work for other programmers, but it was just something about their drive and really wanting to grow, and how can I get them to the next level? As I say to other people, you know, there's a lot of people in the business that have been in the business. You'll never be bigger than the radio station, or never bigger than the product. You're a piece of the puzzle that it all comes together. And once your ego get bigger than the product, well, you're not going to last. You're not going to last. So you're out of here. So, you know, I had opportunities, and you have people on your team that you're willing to delegate. You know, when I first became a programmer, I wanted to do everything all by myself. It's just me, I. And, you know, my general manager at that time, he was a German guy. He said, Fats, you know, you're very promotional oriented. You've done sales, you've been on the air, but you got to be able to delegate responsibilities for people that really want to grow and learn and teach and mentor them. And that's been a part of my success and growing in this business, is to get other people to that level. So it's important.
All right. Anybody else?
I mean, this is a hot button for me.
Yep.
I think there's two things that you need in the game. You need mentors and you need sponsors, okay? Mentors are the people that give you guidance, that help you grow. A sponsor is the person that puts your name in rooms you're not otherwise able to get into. So to me, for the up and coming people, you know, those are the two areas that you really want to look at. You know, for me with mentorship, I think what I try to encourage people, again, I'm somebody who's very much looking into the future as what's coming down the road. And I like for people to be able to create their own power. And I think we don't talk enough about that in the game. You know, I think this COVID, if it taught us anything, is how powerless we can be. We're all blessed and fortunate to still sit here and do what we love to do. I had to furlough 3/4 of my team. That was not an easy day. I know Derek, you know, we were in the same boat, Mark too. So, you know, it was a tough day in the game. So for me, when it comes to mentorship, I like to connect with people who are interested in growing their own brand, because I do think that speaks to the industry. And when we look at content delivery platforms and we see new ones launching every day, I know everybody saw the Amazon Music platform come into fruition and all of that. And so what I try to coach the talent is, okay, what's your special sauce? What's your niche? Can you build a brand? Do you have a voice? What do you want to say? And how could that be built out? And then that demonstrates your ability to build your own brand. And then you become an asset to larger brands that are wanting to bring people to their brand. So if you're someone who can create some compelling content and prove that you can pull it together and build that, then you're going to have a greater appeal to some of these larger content delivery platforms. Radio is certainly one of them. A lot of us work for big companies, and they're in the content, like what happened with Charlemagne, right? That was an incredible opportunity that he sat smack dab in the middle of. And it's all about cultivating, creating, and bringing in content to help grow the larger brand. So, for me, it's really wanting to identify people that are open-minded, that really have something to say, and a niche. It doesn't have to be the same conversation. This is my pet peeve, I'm going to say it. I'm not a fan of all the women thinking all you do is you're the gossip lady. That drives me nuts. And I can say it as a woman in the game. And I used to work with Hurricane. He was my program director, and that was never my steez on the air, not even a little bit. It's the low-hanging fruit of our business. And unless you're the lady that woke up next to Drake and you're giving me that tea because you saw it firsthand, there's nothing you're not giving me that I don't already have on my phone when I wake up in the morning and I'm going through Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and wherever else. So as women, especially, what else do you have to say? What else are you interested in? As men too, I think there's a way for us to really connect with people, because that's really what this is, right? We have the wonderful ability to really connect with people on a deep level. And I like to view radio, the best radio stations in the country, they're lifestyle brands. We're not just here to play music. We would not be successful if we were not lifestyle brands. So what other things do you have an interest in, if you're the demo, that we can then put under a microscope, build into something special, create engagement, get a following, and then use that as leverage to get a greater opportunity, in a platform. And I think that's going to give you a couple things. It's going to give you ownership. It's going to give you a stake in your own game. And then I think the conversation is going to continue to grow in the future for radio and otherwise. It's going to be more about strategic partnerships. And that, I think, is even going to be strategic partnerships with the best talent who can bring good content to the table.
So I have a question, and Terri, you can follow up or someone else can jump in. With all that you guys have going on right now, handling 12 hats instead of the usual 6 hats, how does somebody get your attention? How do they get on your radar without being annoying? Because they almost have to be annoying. I know when I was programming and I would cut my Instagram on and I would look at my phone and I'd have 30 likes from somebody, I would immediately go to their page and see what they were about, but then I would probably block them because that's not how to get somebody's attention. So how do they do it? How do they get on your radar? Somebody tell me that.
Well, let me say this first, and I'm gonna relinquish the microphone at this point, and I just want to recognize Jordan. So I have a mentee in here right now. Jordan doesn't want to be in radio. That's not his steez. He's somebody who's a producer. And, I create some other content. I've got a free game podcast that I do. So a variety of people tap in. So Jordan got on my radar because he was consistently coming and asking good questions in some of the content that I was putting out there. And they were really good questions. He continued to show up. He asked good questions. He always was respectful in there. And, he may leave a good comment on a post that I saw. I mean, we're all looking at our social media and we're reading the post. So, and then one day he pops a question into the DM. I looked at what I call the dark side of the DM. Those are all the people that ask you questions that you don't follow. So it's in that little space. And so I checked the dark side of the DM. Jordan was in there. He had a very sensible question. So I answered the question. I think you gotta, 1, be willing to listen, 2, participate, and 3, ask good questions. You can't always approach everybody with, this is why I'm hot.
I want to add to that, listen, all of our jobs, especially people that are veterans in the business or people that are programming or in some sort of management position that is in the position to actually hire somebody. I think that it is your job, it's part of your job duties to seek out talent, to look for talent and to groom talent and to just keep your eye and ear open for somebody who has that special thing. But it is also the responsibility of somebody who wants to be noticed to figure out a way to be noticed. I remember years ago I was looking for a promotions director, a marketing director, and I would just get these packages. And I'm like, you can't even market yourself. How can you market to radio stations, right? So it's not, it is up to us to look and find those people. Sometimes you can find them at the supermarket. Sometimes you can find them other places. I used to teach when I was in Palm Beach at the Connecticut School of Broadcasting with the hopes of finding some talent. And I did. But it also is up to people that are trying to get noticed to find interesting ways so that you can get on the radar. Part of that is your responsibility as well. not just sitting there waiting for somebody to discover you because A, you got a good voice, your family tells your personality's dope. It's more than that. How are you marketing yourself and putting yourself out there so that you can be noticed? Maybe you can send a package, do something different, stand out. My first PD job I got in Austin is because I sent the operations manager a poster of my resume. It was huge. It was in a FedEx tube. I'm like, yo, if you get a FedEx tube, you're going to open it, because how often you get those things in life, right? So that's what you got to do. Figure out a way to step out there and make yourself known.
I want to add to that real quick. I see a couple of my jocks are on the panel. On the call too, and like he said, just staying persistent. You know, for me, as somebody that really wants to do it, you're gonna stay on it until you get that shot and opportunity. That's to me, that's the biggest way of getting on the radar, is staying persistent. And sooner or later, you know, when that opportunity comes, you got to be ready for it too. At the same
make yourself
time,
the obvious choice when something does become available.
Yeah.
The obvious choice.
So that way, it's like, yep, I remember them. They were the one. Yeah, boom. And so that's something I look at too.
That's good. I like the poster size thing. I might have to try that.
Piggybacking on what Mark said, that marketing, how you market yourself, 17, 18, or however long I've been in radio, I thought I was like a marketing guru. I sent, it's just little things. I mean, it didn't get me the job, but I did different things. Like I sent a high heel shoe to a program, well, actually to about 20 program directors. And it was in one box, and I had a note in it and said, here's my air check. Listen to it. Tell me what you think and let me know how I can get the other foot in the door. I just did all kinds of things. And that's what really, really excites me about people that really want to be a part of the business, is that they just go out their way to market themselves and to really prove that they really want this. So you can hit me in my DM all day, but like, I mean, are you just looking for a handout, or do you really, really, really want to be in the business? So it's just.
Oh yeah.
We got a lot of veteran PDs on this panel. What's the most creative thing you've got from some of these veterans that have been on? I mean, I could think of like 5 or 6. One guy sent me some small golf balls, and he said, I got the balls to get the job done. I've heard so many different great. Give me your, if you can think of off the top of your head, because I'm sure you got some. What's some of the most creative ideas to get attention? Because I'm sure there are people that are looking. A lot of people out of work. They need to get on somebody's radar. They need to get some attention. Give me a couple of them.
How about somebody actually coming in doing the gig, and you like, damn, you did that? And it's like, okay, now, I got you. That's a good way. That's a crazy way to get on the radar. They just did the job. They just made it happen.
Yeah, Kenny, you got something?
Oh my goodness, I'm sitting here trying to think of something.
Okay, I'm trying to put you on the spot. Minnesota, what about you?
Well, you know, being in the business as long as I always had that
trying to make sure I got.
You know, one of the things I always go back to Miss Monique, because you know, it was a young lady that I was going to hire. She worked in DC, I think at KISS in DC, and you know, one of the things that she said to me during the interview process, you know, I was talking to her about, you know, the community and what she does when she get out in the community, and she said, well, you know, sometimes I just tell people I'm gay because I don't want to be bothered. It's like, okay. She ain't the one.
Oh wow!
So then there was Miss Monique. Then there was Miss Monique, who was like that old lady in the neighborhood. You know, it's always that lady that everybody go to that had the candy in the neighborhood, and everybody talked to her. And during the interview process, it was like Miss Monique was that old lady in the neighborhood, because every time somebody go around here, they just start spilling their guts about things that are going on in their family. She was always attached. People were always attached to her. So that was one of the reasons that Ms. Monique is in Augusta and in Columbia and this part of the country today. So I just have to say that she didn't do anything crazy, but her personality that really got to me about hiring her in the Augusta market.
Okay, cool. Somebody said on the chat, I sent a pizza to RW in San Diego with a missing slice and a note saying I was the missing piece of the pie. That's from Mike Bell. That's pretty creative. Kelly,
like
I
that.
didn't mean to cut you off, Kenny. Did you have something? And Fats, fix your background.
You know,
baby.
I was saying I was trying to.
Go ahead.
I was trying to say I want to make sure that I had something that was HR friendly to put on the call.
Okay.
Because, yeah, but you know, it is what it is. But I had you know, I think what I like persistence and I like performance, and people that know me know that.
He froze.
You froze.
I mean, that was a mic drop. Persistence and performance. After that, I mean, you know what that is. He just, whoop, there it is.
There it is. There's nothing else that needs to be said. Derek, you're leaning forward like you got something, Derek.
Well, hey, Dave, and I think if you remember this guy, they used to work for us. He was 6'8", first of all, and yeah, and he would show up at every remote, but he had researched and he knew everything about our brands, and he always wore a top hat. He wanted to stand out, and so. Eventually you got to go ahead and find out what's the deal with this person or whatnot. And, you know, persistence is key, as someone said or whatnot. And this gentleman, he ended up doing some work for us in promotions. And he was so persistent. I think this is when Barack was running originally. And he ended up getting an interview with Bill Clinton that, you know, I had news people on my staff. And they couldn't get an interview with Bill, but this guy who basically was somebody off the street, he was persistent enough to get in the room with Bill Clinton and you know, and get an interview with him. And, you know, that's the type of stuff that stands out or whatnot. Persistence is key.
Yeah.
Hey, I also want to add, this is a story, and I know there's different people here watching the panel, but there's a guy on Instagram, I want to say his name is Mela Yella Media, and he's a graphics guy, and he had no job with anybody, and no label, no radio, no nothing, but he was creative, he had skills he had cultivated, so he started making these promotional videos for the artist release on different albums, and he would just be resourceful on his own and put together these really dope pieces. I don't even know how, maybe I found him on the Explore page or whatever, but he came across one day, and then, you know, I saw that he made a cool piece for artists I happen to know. He tagged the artist, I reposted it, and I said, hey, this is dope, you know, and then he started getting on the radar of some label people like Baby Sam over at RCA, and she was like, yo, this kid is dope. And the artists liked the work he was doing, so they would repost and so forth and so on. Look, we all know we've been downsized, and the biggest commodity that somebody could offer us right now is a variety of skill sets. If all you can do is open a mic, there's not a lot of place for you in the radio game right now.
Absolutely.
What else can you bring to the table? So I always tell people, hey, especially on the millennial tip, your social media is your new resume. What can you create that can get yourself on my radar? It's cool to be persistent, and I'm here for that all day, every day, but I'm also here for showcasing your skill set so that I could see and visualize how you could be an asset to my team. I have enough confidence in myself as a coach, so I can shape up the clay. If you've got the skill sets, I can bring out, you know, how I need to mold that to market the brand at large. But if you can really showcase your skill sets, you know, I think that's really one thing that's helpful to get on the radar. And then I just really like to recommend a book. I'm a reader. I do think there's some real classics out there that help people. One of my favorites is Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. It's not about the radio game, but it is about learning and becoming an expert in your field, and about the idea of we don't know everything. Nobody here knows everything. And so we need to have people around us that can help elevate us. But when we're having a relationship, if you're seeking a mentor or somebody in your circle, that everything in life is about balance. It's what that person can possibly offer you in terms of information, but the universe is balance. So what is your benefit back to that person? May not be what you think it is. You know, maybe somebody's spending some time mentoring you and you don't have nothing but the ability to walk their dog on the weekend they need to be out of town. But let's be cognizant also that in life, everything is give and take. Things are not one-sided, and the best, most productive relationships are always mutually beneficial in the best way. And that just brings a great energy to things.
Awesome. Hey, I want to make sure that I cover this because it's important for the future. What is the future of podcasting? I mean, is it real? Is it not real? I mean, some people say that it's real. I know a lot of these major companies have invested a lot of money into podcasting. I know that Mark has a podcasting business. Is this real? What type of future? What do you guys' thoughts are on podcasting, which, by the way, hurricanedaypodcasting.com. I'm up there as well. Anyway, shameless plug.
Well, I'll chime in here. I built these podcasting studios in Dallas about a year ago because I noticed that there was a movement. Is it going to kill radio? No, but it is a competitor to it, whether we like it or not. It's the new talk radio. And young people in particular are consuming podcasts, but older people are as well. And people have something to say. And if you have a dynamic personality and, you can really pull off a great podcast. I think that all radio people should probably look into it, maybe doing one as an extension of their brand. I think that it's necessary. Maybe it's another portion of their personality that they can't do long form on the radio, especially if you have a midday, afternoon, or night shift. I think this would give it a chance to really get you and to connect with your audience so they get a little bit of a deeper sense of your personality, not just the stuff they hear in between songs, depending on which company you work for. So I think it's real. I don't think it's a radio killer, but I think that it's real. And I think that it's something we got to embrace and get our arms around. And let me tell you, podcasting business is killing it right now. It is killing it.
And what's the name of your company, Mark?
It's Podcast Suites. I got 2 studios here in Dallas. I'm gonna plug for a minute because I'm that guy. I think that it's something that radio people should probably get into, like maybe even owning a studio or so, because there's a lot of value when you get people walking through your door that want to use your studio as a podcast and you have a broadcasting background. It's a great way to make some side money, and having another stream of income is not a bad thing to do.
So let me ask you this, Mark. So your podcasting studio, so you give them the opportunity to record and give them like the background that they need, or is it video and audio?
Yeah.
How does that work? I
have a studio that's got really great equipment in there, stuff that they don't know what to buy. And then I offer podcast coaching because I'm a program director. And then we offer video services as well. They can stream live from us. I mean, all of the services, you can see it on podcastsuites.com. And I'm in the position right now, probably going to end up franchising it because it's really a viable business. It really is. And I think that we're probably about 3 to 5 years away from there being a bunch of horrible podcast studios across the country. So I'm just trying to plant my flag.
Mark, when did you launch your podcast company?
Last year. I launched it the summer of last year. And we were profitable and completely paid for in 4 months.
Wow.
That is awesome.
Yeah. That's great. Congrats. Yeah, great piece of podcasting equipment to get is the Rode Podcaster Pro. If anybody's serious about getting into
I like that thing.
Yeah, that's an awesome piece of gear.
Good piece.
I just purchased one, and it does compression and all of that stuff. It's awesome. Anybody else on podcasting?
I think in the podcast lane, I call it a gym. It's a place where you can go and work out, and you can go in that fielding. And if you want to try to work out the bugs on a morning show, what a great place to go there to find out whether or not you really got something. I don't think you want to just jump on the air with trying to do one of those type of shows. So I think podcasting is good to get your legs in for that. Also. You might be looking at in about 3 to 5 years. That's where you imagine if you got your log set and there could be some podcast slots where you can grab some podcasts and put them on the air. I think you're going to hear some of the content on the air, and it won't be long before you hear some of the stuff coming in on terrestrial radio. It's way too popular not to be.
I wanted to make sure, since we are a radio panel, but obviously radio would be nothing without some music conversation, I would say. What's some of the ways you're discovering music these days? I mean, because a lot of new artists are still out there. The recording industry from a streaming standpoint is killing the game right now. They're absolutely killing it because a lot of folks are stuck at home. That's some of our competitors, but where are you discovering songs nowadays?
TikTok.
Anyway.
You just said it. Some streaming for sure.
Yeah.
Definitely for sure. One way.
YouTube, believe it or not.
Okay,
I mean,
it really hasn't changed. Nothing's changed on that perspective, then, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
TikTok.
If you're a new artist, how do you get to the radio? Because I'm asking that because some people are asking that in the question box. I know every time we have a radio panel, there's always one person who comes up and gets on the microphone and says, "Hey, my song's getting played everywhere. How come you're not playing it?" So I want to make sure that we're fair and that we address.
The millennial said TikTok.
That's gone by Sunday though. Sunday I think is out of here though. Right?
What is it?
Damn.
What is
It's
it?
Sunday, and then TikTok is later in the week.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you to our president, by the way. But go ahead. The millennial.
Yeah.
How do we do it?
Oh, right.
Arielle?
Well, for one, I do have a podcast, and one of the ways that I get music from indie artists is they making themselves discoverable on platforms like TikTok and Instagram, because that's where I'm at. And if I'm there, then I also know that if I'm marketing my station to millennials and Gen Z, they're there too. They are already familiar with this music. What I don't necessarily like is when you bring me your music and nobody's ever heard of you. So it's not like you show up without your audience. Like, no, you got to bring the whole crew with you, homie. Like, understand that. But again, when I can discover it via social media, because that is generally how I find not only music from unsigned artists, from signed artists as well, because I didn't necessarily like Chloe and Halle's Do It until I saw it on Instagram. And I was like, oh, you know what? That's fun. I like that song now. So that is, I think, the new way of finding music and also getting your music in front of more people.
That was the question. That was kind of like a layup question, I thought, but that was the answer that I was looking for. Yeah. So very good, young grasshopper. Very good.
And if I could back up my girl Arielle, because I love all the energy she's bringing today, let me say that there are 28 to 29 digital platforms as an artist that you need to have your music on. Do not leave any potential audience out there thinking that platforms aren't the cool ones. You gotta put yourself, just like radio, everywhere. You have to put yourself everywhere that there is potential audience, because once you can put yourself where there's potential audience, now it's the engagement game, right? So people might be listening. A lot of the streaming thing, and that's a whole other panel, that's drive-by listening. That's drive-by listening. Drive-by listening doesn't mean that I love that song. It's drive-by listening. So how do you really make and cut through and create impact as an artist? You have to get your engagement up. An artist that has 100,000 followers could have a greater engagement than an artist that has 1 million followers. I mean, that's the truth. So I would rather be engaged, or I would rather look at that person who has the higher engagement score, because at the end of the day, I need to know that you can bring your highly engaged audience of fans to my radio station or my content platform or my whatever. So I would say for artists, there are 28 to 29 digital platforms you need to be on, and you need to be focused on engagement. This is an election year. You got to think like you're running for office. You're out here and you're kissing babies, you're shaking hands, and you're asking people for their votes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Vote for me. Vote for me.
Minnesota, you got my vote. You got my vote. I vote for Minnesota.
Terri, you spoke like a real radio professional.
Yes.
I love that.
Yes.
That's how the radio peeps, right? All right. So listen, I think we're getting close. So go ahead. Somebody was about to say something. Go ahead.
I was just going to piggyback on what Terri said about there's various platforms, but also be very strategic about who you are as an artist, who your core fan base is too. or whatnot and where they are. I mean, for instance, if you're a gospel artist or you're an adult R&B artist, your fan base isn't necessarily on TikTok. You probably want to focus on YouTube or Facebook or so on and so forth. Same type of engagement. You know, engagement is important, but the platforms are different. So know who your audience is and who you are as an audience, as an artist, in the first place.
Awesome. Hey, I wanted to ask a couple of techie questions. Excluding social media, what other kind of apps are you using on a regular basis to help you do your job better? Because there may be some people out there, obviously we know about TikTok and we know about Facebook and Instagram. And if you don't have any, that's cool. I know this is kind of like an off the cuff question, but hopefully you're thinking about it right now, maybe looking at your phone. Give me one app that you use to help you do your job better. Maybe it's a video editing app, because we have to be socially conscious. Go ahead, Arielle.
Yeah, I have 3 that I use on a consistent basis. That's Canva, Spark Post, and InShot, because that's how I'm editing my videos, but I'm creating my graphics through either Canva, but sometimes it can look a little cartoony, so I'll go to Spark Post to add that extra shine up to it. But those are the 3 that I use on a regular basis. And and Headline to create.
Yeah,
that's what I was going to say. Headliner. I use that a lot.
Headliner.
Yeah. Canva is awesome. I use that on my desktop and on my phone. Anybody else? I see people looking at their phones right now. That's good.
I've got Ripple Pro. I love it. Ripple Pro. It's video. Can pull together like little dope videos. I'm not as good as you, Kane, on the video tip, but I understand the necessity to get it done. So
I see your stuff. It's good.
Yeah, Ripple's been super helpful. And then also just the word, any app that you could use that would properly size things for the platform that you want to post it on. Pet peeve, like you're scrolling through the gram and the graphics cut off and things like that. I mean, I'm a person who likes to pay attention to details. So,
yes.
Any number of those type of apps are out there, but where you can resize things properly to fit your platform.
Yeah, and any app that you have, one of my pet peeves here is when I see people post something and I see the little watermark of the app is about $2 or $2.99 or $3.99, and you should be able to afford $3.99, right?
Well,
you would think anyway.
One would think.
Right.
I see they're putting a countdown on it, so that's good. I was wondering when that was going to pop up. Any other cool apps out there? Because I have a few more questions. My next question is...
I use Hootsuite. I use Hootsuite a lot.
Yeah.
And Hootsuite is to schedule your posts automatically or in advance, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Right. Get all kind of, you can get the data and analysis from it. Hootsuite is a beast.
Awesome. And my next question is, what is the best investment you've made in yourself? What is the best investment you've made in yourself? Whether that was a good book that maybe changed your life or changed your philosophy, maybe it's getting healthy. What's the best investment that you've personally made for you?
I got a few.
Okay, let's hear it.
Fair.
Yeah.
Go ahead and say it so the rest of them can think of their one. Go ahead, Miss Monique.
So I read a lot. So definitely books, but recently, so I'm in Columbia, but I live in the suburbs, Lexington. So we have a huge lake. It's called Lake Murray. And one of the things that helps me to just deal with every day and just everything is I love to be at the lake. And the lake is like 20 minutes from my house. So I go out. I've been here a year and about 3 months. And about 3 months ago, I was feeling myself. I didn't really want to admit that I was low-key getting depressed. And to be out on the lake made me feel so good. So I stepped out on faith and I said, you know what? I'm going to buy me a boat. And I bought me a boat, and I am on that lake every week.
Wow, that's awesome.
I'll let your people.
And I mean, and really it's just, I think that everybody knows what makes them happy. And I'm just one of those ones that at the end of the day, Like I can make a lot of people happy, but I really need to take care of me first. And I didn't do that for a lot of years. And I finally decided to just say, you know what? I know what I need. And COVID been good to me.
Well, props. I think that's awesome because a lot of times people don't realize, especially if you're a coach and you're managing a staff, that you have to recharge yourself. My favorite place to go is Stone Mountain. Plus, I listen to spiritual stuff all the time just to kind of like replenish my soul because there's so much negative energy sometimes in my circle. So I applaud you on that. I think that's awesome to get out there and clear your head. What about somebody else?
I think eating healthier for me has been one. You know, I've always been a big guy. You know, growing up as a kid in New York and Georgia, so I found myself, you know, working 12 hours a day in the radio station, not eating healthy. Doing mornings for a long time, not really eating in the mornings, and then getting off the air doing program duties, and then leaving here late at night, and then eating late at night was not a good thing for me. So I had to really change my eating habits and stuff like that. Eating healthier have given me a better lifestyle. I've lost some weight, and it has fluctuated, but I'm on that path to a new me. And COVID has really changed a lot of that too. So just eating healthier, you know, being refreshed and energized, and continue to have that great passion from when I started 30 years ago in this business. So that's been a major part of moving forward in 2020 for me.
Yeah, the last time I saw you, Minnesota, that was not Minnesota Fats. That was Minnesota Slim.
Right.
You definitely was sharp, bro. I ain't never seen you out without looking sharp.
But you know, they still call me Big Juicy though. So
well, you ain't gotta worry about that for me. I'm not gonna address you as Big Juicy, bro. I can't. All right, who's got something else? There's got to be more.
No, another man juicy.
What's some other positive stuff that you're doing for you? Because there are people out there that are going to get an idea and say, you know what, I should try that.
Well, you know.
Go ahead, Derek. Go ahead.
I'm sorry. Well, for me, it's been very simple when this whole COVID thing kind of hit, you know, and people quarantining indoors. How could you enjoy outdoors in a very basic way? And, you know, a lot, you know, if you have a house and, you know, you have people do your grass, guys come cut your grass or whatnot. I fired them, and got lawnmower, shears, the whole nine, and I do my own yard. That's how I relax now. Probably start planting some vegetation at some point in time and growing our own food. So
awesome.
Wow. Me just really reaching out to people that I don't get a chance to reach out to a lot. You know, before COVID, you know, we all slammed, and you know, with COVID, with this pandemic going on, you know, it gives you a little bit of time to reach out to other peers and, you know, share ideas, et cetera. So I've been able to do that a lot more lately, which is been gratifying for me. So just talking to some of y'all right on the panel. So it's been great.
Yeah, this has been fun. Thank you guys so much. So listen, closing statements, because I see that mark that we're getting down there, 3:37. Just a quick statement that you can give somebody some advice on, some positive words, but literally just a few words. As you can see, we have a short period of time. Terri?
Okay, I'll start. Let me just say this. We love this business, but it doesn't love us back. And I think oftentimes we lose ourselves in our jobs. So remember, this is what you do, but don't let it be who you are and lose sight of the person on the inside. I think the most important journey, our number one responsibility for ourselves to really align ourselves with our purpose, is to get and embark on the journey of self-discovery. So don't lose sight of yourself. Chasing the dream. It's been a beautiful ride, but you know, I love it, but I'm clear that it does not love me back.
Amen. All right, let's be quicker.
Good.
Arielle, that's good. Arielle, give me something.
Be flexible.
Be flexible.
extremely flexible because one, it always changes. It's never going to stay the same, and you never know what you need to know next until you need to know it next. So be flexible and be a student.
There it is. Miss Monique.
Well, I'm with Terry and Arielle. When I tell you both, just yes, be flexible, but I mean, we love it, but it took me umpteen years to understand that it won't love me back. And it's okay, but I'm loving me first.
Amen. Mark McCray.
Bet on yourself. Don't worry about the criticism that you're going to get from other people. You believe you go through this life without any regrets. Take a chance on yourself, bet on yourself, and be strong and go after it.
Awesome. D. Harper.
At the end of the day, it ain't about you. Even if you are a personality and you have a radio show and it has your name on it, it's still not about you. It's about the people you serve. And at the end of the day, the better you serve, the better things will go for you. So.
All right. Kenny Smoov.
Don't be afraid to invest in yourself. Don't be afraid to put your money in yourself. Never be afraid to bet on yourself because that's all you got. If you do that, I promise you, you'll see some return on it. Never be afraid to invest in yourself.
Awesome. DJ Fresh.
I was exactly about to say the same thing like Kenny, man. You got to invest in yourself. Like I say, we're not spring chickens. I know some of us on the panel have been around for a while. So you got to invest in yourself and look for the future. Some others, like I say, radio don't love you back. It's a fact. My work ethic is impeccable, but goodness, I might have to look at other things down the line also. So definitely invest in yourself.
Awesome. I think that got everybody. I think I covered everybody. So I'll wrap it up and say thank you guys so much for being on this panel. It's good to see some of my colleagues that I haven't seen in a long time. Shameless plug for me, HurricaneDaveUniversity.com. Go there and sign up because I'm trying to build a platform of education. So I want to say thank you to Arlinda. Thank you. You are so awesome and so amazing. And thank you for allowing us to have this panel. And thank you for allowing me to be a part of it and see some of my great colleagues. You guys have a great night. God bless you.
Hey, Hurricane, man.
Thank you,
Thank you for doing this,
Arlinda.
Hurricane, man. You are a beast, boy.
Salute.
Thank you.
Later, Kenny.
My man.
Kenny,
Next up,
Hurricane,
performance
everybody else.
by Lyrica Anderson, being introduced by Prince Howard. Performance by Lyrica Anderson, being introduced by Prince Howard. And then we're going to get into our keynote with Doc Winters and Big Boy.